Hello, I'm Steph from idriveaclassic, and if you saw the preview video earlier this week, if you're watching this when it goes out, you'll know that I have done something rather unhinged that I used to do in my 20s more often than I should have. I bought a car blind, but not just any car. I've been toying with buying a Standard for quite some time because I encountered the Standard Motor Club and I thought they were some of the loveliest people that I'd ever met. And I went from a point of not really even caring about standards to thinking, I'm really mad that nobody talks about standards and we need to do more to save them. And I made this throwaway promise that if a Standard came up for under £1,500, I'd have a look and I'd consider it. So anyway, time goes on, 18 months goes past and I get sent various standards and they're always over £1,500. I'm like, no, it's got to be under 1,500. Then Rustival happened. And this lovely man called Peter from the Standard Motor Club comes over to me, full of smiles, hands me this bit of paper written on something like an old cereal box. And it just says, Standard under £1,000, Steve O'Hara, and a telephone number, and that was it. And I was hooked in the same way that I used to be hooked when I used to see Morris miners that had come to the end of their lives under £1,000. And I thought, this is definitely the car for me. Did I know what Standard it was? No. Did I even have a picture? Absolutely not. And yet there I was on the email straight away because Steve didn't answer his phone. And I thought, I'm not letting this little man slip away from me. And I tracked him down through the club magazine and I said, Steve, send me some pictures of this car. And do you know what I got back? One photo. And I thought, I love it, I'm going to buy it. And I took it into work, and my work colleagues are my biggest enablers because they too buy terrible cars on a regular basis. And sometimes we get lucky because we buy a good car. And I actually think this might be my guardian angel saying, look, you get one last go, one last roll of the dice, and this is it. Because this, for under £1,000, is one of the best cars I think I've purchased. Now, I'm going to show you around it in today's video, and I'm also going to tell you what the plan is. So let's talk about what the plan is. First of all, I'm going to get really excited about it. And I brought everybody out of the office, out of the workshop. I was like, come and have a look at this, it's amazing. And we're all very excited. So let me talk through rationally what we're going to do. Well, first of all, I have taken a wee bit of a punt on this because, although I will say actually that my best friend Joe did go and have a look before I handed in money over, just to check that it was as good as the photo. And he said, yeah, it's really good. Anyway. It hasn't been on the road for a little while. It's got a few problems, as you would expect for any car under £1,000, and it hasn't had an MOT since 2011. Now, none of that phases me because I think that sometimes people approach classic cars with a 90s head on and they go, oh, well, they used to be 50 quid. Nothing is 50 quid anymore, and really nothing comes up under £1,500 anymore, which is a bit of a gutter because you can't make stupid decisions anymore. Anyway, it clearly has. So the plan is this. It's the NEC Classic Motor Show, the second weekend in November, and my goal is to get everything right on this with my friends at ADO Restoration. I would call them work colleagues, but it feels decidedly cold when I'm getting them to give up all their evenings. And we are going to get her back on the road. We're going to get all the important bits sorted. So you might not see all the chrome looking 100%. You might not see all the trim 100%. But all of the stuff mechanically will be bang on. And I'm going to drive her over 100 miles to the NEC and put her on display. And if you want to come and see her, I've popped a ticket discount in the description box below. Because let's face it, we all need to save a few quid, especially with heating bills coming. So the plan is that, first of all, we're going to have a look at her today and show you around her. And then what we're going to do in the second video, which is going to come next week, is we are going to do an analysis on everything that's wrong or we think that needs tackling. And we're going to show you, and then we're going to talk through logically what the plan is. Because at ADO Restoration, that's what we do when a customer's car comes in. And so that's what we're going to do with this. And we reckon, having a look at the pictures that Joe took, and he took 88 of them, we reckon we can get it done in the next 2 weeks. Everybody looks really frightened off camera, but that's what we think we can do. So without further delay, let's have a look round. And also, I'm going to grab Ed, who is part of the bodywork team, because let's face it, bodywork is probably one of the big things this is going to need, along with a head gasket and the brakes looking at. So I'm probably going to put in Paul from workshop as well. Clearly a team effort. Anyway, let's kind of have a look round.
I wanted to record this voiceover section for you once my giddiness of the day had calmed down somewhat, and also to take stock of some of the comments and questions that were coming in through social media when I told you all that I'd bought a car and hadn't really looked at it, and there were quite a few. But here's the biggest one, and it also came across on the pre-war car interview video, which if you haven't watched, I'd really like to watch and give me your opinion. And the questions were about insurance and people moaning about classic car insurance, trying to find it. So let's start with that one. So on my standard, I've gone with Adrian Flux and I've paid £280. And that's probably much heftier than any other standard 10 owner, and I reckon that you get it much cheaper than me. So what I'm going to do is explain why it's cost me so much. So my policy includes 10,000 miles of driving, which probably most classic car owners aren't going above 1 to maybe even 5,000 miles. But I want to use this all the time. I then got business use because I'm using it for YouTube and the channel. So that's a really big uptick if you're trying to use your classic for business. I've got commuting for work on there because I refuse to save this car for the weekend. I'm not doing this so I can only drive it on Saturdays and Sundays. I want to drive this all week long. European breakdown cover, and then also I've got fully comprehensive cover. Now you're probably wondering, are you going to do 10,000 miles next year, Steph? Well, look, I'm going to give it a blooming good shot because I want to show you all that these cars are so usable. Now, that kind of moves me on greatly, actually, to the second question, which is how usable is a 50s car in today's modern world? And here's the harsh reality. If you're going to follow in what I and so many others are doing, because what I'm doing, first of all, is not special. So many other people are driving 50s cars every single day and 60s cars. But here's the thing, if you're going to do it, you're going to need to toughen up, carry a few tools and spares, and learn to leave a few minutes earlier. These standard 10s won so many awards, including Round Britain runs, and so why can't I press it into service in 2024? The only thing which holds you back is mindset and the opinion of others. And most of us could run a classic in our lives. It's just about making a few adjustments to make that happen. Now, I will say, if you're not very handy, don't let that deter you. Because first of all, if you go for one of these, you'll get loads of support from the club. And also, when I bought my first Morris Minor, I didn't know how to open the bonnet. And I actually did a Facebook status saying I was really proud of myself for doing it. And every time I see it pop up on the yearly reminder, I cringe, but I leave it there as a bit of a benchmark for how I've moved forward. I didn't know what a set of points did, I didn't know what a coil did, and I always believe that you're never too old to learn something new. So don't let a lack of prior experience or support hold you back from classic car ownerships, because nowadays you've not only got books, but you've got YouTube, and that's an invaluable source and one I would have loved as a kid. So information's out there and there's no excuse not to give it a crack. Now, as for other drivers, don't let them make you feel small or bullied off the roads. You're probably going to be in the coolest car in the queue of traffic. And let's face it, if your area is anything like mine in West Yorkshire, your roads are going to be littered with roadworks, traffic calming measures, which means that seeing 70 outside of small stretches of the motorway that don't have those 50 zones is virtually impossible nowadays. So the clogged roads aren't really a negative, and you should probably see them instead as an opportunity to grant yourself permission to drive the classic car of your dreams. Now, the other thing you've all been asking me about is preserving the originality. And I'm going to talk a lot about this later, but essentially I'm not going to be that person that chucks modern seats in, millions of mod cons and a bigger engine. Not doing it. I'm going to show you the indicators later on and why I definitely think I'm going to need to tweak those for safety, but largely I want to keep the driving experience as the standard motor company intended. Other than that, consider me open-minded. I'm really excited to go on this adventure, and being frank with you all at home, it's an excitement which is helped enormously by the support of my pals at work. Speaking of which, should probably ask them what they think as well.
Let's ask a professional what he thinks. Ed, what are your thoughts on this? Walk us around the car and just talk to us as we go. And we'll get Paul to follow us with the camera. Come on, Paul.
Well, as you said, we saw some pictures that Joe took,
Yep.
and he did quite a good job of pointing out some of the immediate areas that needed attention. So we knew about some of the stuff, didn't we?
Yeah.
The rest of it, let's be honest, is great. You know, all round under the wheel arches here, we've had a good look round, bottoms of the doors and everything. It's all just original. There's no filler, there's no fiberglass in there, there's no bog. You know, it's all nice, proper metal thicknesses all round. You know, a few blisters in the paint, a few little bits where it's been touched in. But I mean, it's nearly 70 years old, so
yeah.
let's be honest, it's done pretty well.
I think what I really like about it, and I think that you would concur, is that it's very original.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say whether it's even been painted. Like I say, there's bits where it's been touched in, but it does look very original, doesn't it? Yeah, it's very good. I mean, there were some bits that we noticed on the pictures, bottoms of the doors, they're a little bit crispy on this back side here.
That boot lid.
The boot lid, yeah, the back edge there, if Paul wants to follow us to have a little look
But can
at
I
that.
just say as well that Steve, who sold the car, was incredibly honest.
Yeah.
And he laid everything out so well. And I think that's something to be admired, as so many people try and fudge things. And actually, Steve almost undersold the car to me. Like, I think that he could have sold it up better. Like, he was so honest.
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
appreciate that enormously.
I think that's the way to sell a car, is just be completely and utterly transparent over...
I can't work out to open it. We keep laughing.
Work out, there you
We
do,
keep
you done
laughing
it,
because we can't work out to open this. But also, because we keep laughing, because as many of you will know, the Standard 8 didn't come with an opening boot lid. And it's almost 2 fingers up to the Standard 8 owner. Oh, what's that? You've got no boot lid and no boot handle? I've got 2. So I don't know, it feels a bit more usable than the 8. Although I imagine 8 owners are probably going to shout into the void about me saying that an 8, so I just love an opening boot. And look inside, it's enormous.
Yeah, I mean, like, we've had the spare wheel out and all this back
Oh,
edge
do you want to show everybody the strap under the spare
yes,
wheel?
there is a little...
It's under the middle of the spare wheel, yeah.
Let's slide that out. So there's the original leather strap, look, to hold
So
that in.
good.
But, you know, all round here, all the areas that you think, well, that's going to attract some moisture and start rotting out, it's all really good inside there. Again, it's a double skin boot lid here on the bottom. There's a bit of framework inside, which is probably why that started to just sort of go a bit crispy along that back edge. But
Do you reckon you can fix that?
yeah, 100%. Yeah, we'll just make up a little section on there and just spot weld it in along the bottom, as it should be, and we'll get that looking top tip again. As we said, the pictures that Joe sent, the only things, there's a couple of little bits in the front floors, but generally it's all really, really good.
I think you've just got to be so pragmatic when you walk into an £850 car. I was going to tell people what I paid, actually.
Do you want to start that bit again?
But I've told you all now. No, we'll just leave it in. If people have made it this far, they can know what I paid. 850 quid, which is so good. And originally, I was going to maybe take it, do it for a year and do some stuff with it. And now it's here. I'm like, oh my God, I absolutely love it. And it's so great, because something that I do want to say is you guys have been so supportive to me at work, and everything I've been worried about, you said, it's not a problem, we'll sort it out, like everything, don't worry. But as well as that, the Standard Motor Club have been really good, and there is so much to be said for a decent car club, in that every question I had, I actually rang, there's a spares man who's also called Steve, and I asked him all my questions, and I had loads of nerdy questions, and he answered all of them, and he said, look, you've got this, you can do this. He said, we've got a spares shop for members that you can use because you're a member. And I went on the little website and I thought, blimey, there's a lot to be had. And bear in mind, remember that all your running gear, like your engine and stuff, that's all the same as your early Heralds. So there is that supply there. It wasn't a case of they made the Standard 10 for less than a decade and then they shunted everything off into the sky. Like, they carried on using it in the Triumph. So you can buy that stuff. It's not a problem. And I'm just really pleased with it. And I'm so happy that I've done it. And I guess that's one of the things that I would say is that for people that are going to do this, is go and speak to a club. Don't muck about with eBay and Facebook Marketplace, because it's just full of cars that other people have already found at a cheap price. You very rarely get a decent bargain anymore, because traders are sitting there all day refreshing it, looking for stuff. I mean, we know people that do it, don't we? They're refreshing it every 15 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, you know, the clubs are where you're going to find the real gems, because it's people, you know, if they're in the club, they've been looking after the car, they've gone to the rallies, they've gone to the shows, they've used the club spare, so they haven't been bodging things together.
Exactly.
And you know, they're passionate about their cars, and they keep them, you know, they keep them well maintained. And you know, there may be somebody who wants somebody else to take on that baton and carry on with the car as they've left it off. And it's just nice to be able to find people who, you know, are really caring for the cars, and they're not just trying to rattle can them and flip them on Facebook Marketplace.
I know. And I think actually the club have such a genuine love for their members and for the cars, and for what happens next when people aren't able to drive anymore. And I really like that about the club, and they're so friendly and approachable. And I wouldn't have done this, as I said, as I think I said earlier, I'm very tired, so I can't remember. Been up since 4 a.m. because I've been very excited. But without the club support and without the club urging me on, I wouldn't have done this. And I'm very proud to have taken this car on. And I feel really pleased with the car that I have received. I think I've received it at a really great price. I don't mind spending a bit of money on it because I really like the car, and it's kind of a cool project. I don't really know anybody else with one apart from Gaz, who's got one in Leeds, who dailies it. If you're watching this, Gaz, well done, you helped influence. And yeah, I'm really pleased with it, and I would love to have it put on the ramp today, but we have got the most beautiful elf on the ramp at the moment, and it's having exhaust fitted, so I can't just shunt poor David's elf onto the ground. So if you're watching this, David, because I know you do tune in occasionally, I still have car envy, but I am very pleased with this standard. So anyway, I'm waffling away. The next steps. Next time you see us, we're going to get this on the ramp and have a look underneath, because I bet you're gagging to have a look. I haven't had a look yet. I've seen a few pictures because Joe jacked it up and had a look, but there's nothing really scary, is there?
No, nothing super scary. Lots of little bits like the boot lid and things that we've just shown you. But yeah, I think we'll have a better idea when it's on the ramp. But yeah, nothing that I don't think we're not going to be wondering why we've got ourselves involved. No, it's going to be a good thing to do.
Do you know what we've not told anyone? The funniest thing on this car that Paul grimaced when he saw it, and he said, "You can't leave it like that." The front side lights are also the indicators. So this is like in that weird era where they change everything over from trafficators to indicators as we know them today. And so the front side lights flash white. Now, the people of West Yorkshire don't even look at cars on the road at the best of times. So what we're going to do is, what were you suggesting? Was it LED?
Yeah, you can get an LED bulb.
Yeah.
That's a twin filament bulb with a white side light, but then it will flash orange for the indicator, which will make it, the LEDs will be brighter, and also it'll make people more aware of what's going on and not wondering why your side lights are flashing.
Is that a dodgy connection or what's going on? So that's why I'm very, as many of you know, I'm a bit of a geek about originality, and I know that someone's going to mention the number plate. It is a re-reg, so it was re-regged before Steve got it. But look, I put my geeky hat on and I got on the internet and I've actually tracked it down where this number plate's being used. It's being used but on a coach by a coach company, and yes, I have already contacted them, and there'll be no rest for this coach company until I get a firm solution on whether they're going to sell me that number plate back, because I don't ever believe you should take plates off cars, really, and I want to try and put it back on. I want to make this car look great, and I want to take it on loads of adventures. I've got loads of stuff planned for next year: Le Mans, Goodwood Revival, probably Festival of Speed, loads of car shows, the Standard Rally, and this is going to be everywhere, because we need to talk about the unpopular cars, right? Because we work in a garage where we see the popular cars all day long. We see lovely stuff like the Minis, we see lots of ADO cars, but here's the thing. There's a lot of cars now which are in danger of just slipping off and being forgotten because they don't have that cult following like the Mini. And so if nothing else, I want to make these cars look usable, exciting, and something that you can obtain, because Morris Minors used to be the car that I always used to push everyone to, because I was like, look, you can get the parts and they're cheap, but they're not cheap anymore. I saw one the other day going for £3,000, all the doors were rotten, and someone said, this is a nice starter car. I thought, starter for what? The scrapyard? Looks horrendous. And I thought, that was £3,000. That's a lot of money for a young person. But you can pick up these standards from about 1,500 quid, sometimes even as low as £1,000 or £850. So what I'm saying is this, is let's have a look at this car together. Let's go on the journey together. We'll discover how usable it is, we'll discover how fun it is, because plenty of you have told me you've bought Morris Minors after watching my Morris Minor videos. So what I'm really hoping is people are going to watch standard videos and get really excited about standard again, because I know they've not been made, well, standard since 1963, I think it is. But that doesn't mean we forget them, because look at the Model T, look at the Austin 7. They haven't been made for like decades and decades, and yet people still buzz over them. So let's build up some buzz for the standard together. Let's go on an adventure. Let's build it back to a roadworthy car, get everything sorted. Doesn't look like there's too much to do, so we are in a good position. And let's get it to the NEC. So if you are coming to the NEC with me, come and see me. I'll probably be really tired. I'll definitely need a few snacks to keep me going. And I would love to see you there and show you this car and show you what you can do on a limited budget with a low starting point, because not every car has to cost the earth. And we don't all need to buy into the popular brands like Ford and stuff, because actually there's some really good gems that everybody can buy into and you can still get the bits for. So that's it from me today. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Sorry it's a little bit different to usual, but also I am so excited to share this journey with you. And are you excited for all the welding and everything else?
I am so excited, Steph.
Is that a lie?
No, I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great too. And Paul, who looks decidedly weary off camera, is also very excited to be helping with some of the mechanics, because we do need to change the head gasket. Right, time for me to go home. So until next time, take care and drive safely.